name is Girish Bali, the host for Back to Basics, another Back to Basics for another week. Today, I am totally excited for a guest that I've been speaking on a platform called Clubhouse. He also has an app called Owwll with 2 L's at the end, and he's the owner of that, and he's a creator of that. And we'll get into the basics of what that Owwll is and what is this all about. But he's also a host of his own podcast also at the same time. He's a very successful entrepreneur, according to me. He's a great personality, according to me. So he is a person that I want to bring on and show people that, you know what? Yes, there is a struggle along the way, but yes, there is a happiness towards the end of the tunnel. And that's why he's here on this show. Jason, how are you? And thanks for coming to Back to Basics.
Appreciate you having me on the episode today. I'm excited to share my journey with the audience and learn from the do's and don'ts of what I've been through so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason, thank you again for coming on the show. But before we get into the details of who you are, and what this whole Owwll business is, what does Back to Basic mean to you?
So when I think about running a business, sometimes you want to do so many things. There's shiny objects, Facebook ads, TikTok, Clubhouse, Twitter, whatever it might be, and everyone wants to chase the new shiny, thing that's coming out. And a lot of businesses fail within 7 years these days, or they're changing so quickly because of innovation and technology. So Back to Basics is just saying sometimes you got to keep it simple, and simplest things create the happiest lifestyles. So when I look at people that are in their 60s and 70s, they look back, lots of times they go back to basics because that's what's made them happy, which is a simple home and less items and more experiences.
Isn't that true? Thank you so much for that, Jason, and thank you for answering that. When you just answered about the age, do you think age really matters when it comes to entrepreneurship? I mean, people can start really late, can they?
Of course, I think today with technology, there's less barriers to entry to be an entrepreneur. Back in the 80s and 90s, you had to go out and get a brick and mortar storefront typically, and get foot traffic into your store, and then create revenue and hire employees. But today, you start an Instagram handle, right? And all of a sudden, you have a business. You can start an LLC for $100, start protecting that LLC handle. On the internet, you could copyright stuff, trademark stuff very easily. So I believe that there's less barrier to entry. There's even websites for free on Google these days, and you could have a shop open up within a day. And whenever have we had that ability to do that? I've witnessed people focus on LinkedIn and become millionaires within a 12-month period because their audience is there, and they're able to then help people leverage that platform better. And I think we're seeing that now on TikTok, right? Yeah. People that just started putting out content and now are training others to put out content and becoming millionaires overnight, but there was no overhead. And that's the big thing. Back in the day, you couldn't just become an entrepreneur because the overhead. My father was an entrepreneur. He had a store in the South Street Seaport, and the year he closed his store, it was $25,000 per month, right? Plus employees, plus of course merchandise that was sold behind the counters. So it's very, very difficult to do a brick and mortar storefront today. But because of innovation and technology, when has it ever been easier, right?
No, it's never been easier, for sure. The thing is, for entrepreneurs, I think what we are doing is we're doing a one-man shop, a one-person shop, right? We're being a salesperson, we're being a marketer, we're being pretty much everything. You think that gets easier, or that gets kind of worse, because you got to know jack of all trades type of situation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you have a lot of people that could do it themselves, and all of a sudden, they're operating the business, but then they're the head of their marketing department, and then they're head of their sales department. And all of a sudden, they have to know their finances too, right? What about taxes on April 15th? Right? What about your books during the year? So all of a sudden, there's a lot on that solo entrepreneur's back to make sure things are going right. And the beauty of entrepreneurship right now is you could outsource a lot, right? You don't have to have a W-2 employee anymore at your local office. You could have a 1099 in India, you have a 1099 in Pakistan, you have 1099 in Australia, you have 1099 here in the United States, where you're just outsourcing, certain parts of your business. Maybe it's 10 hours for marketing that you need, or advertising, whatever it might be. And you could easily find an expert to do that. And you could even go on Fiverr or Upwork if you want to create some neat technology or creative videos. So it's never been easier because it's all at our fingertips, but that also is a double-edged sword, because too much, then everyone gets frustrated and does nothing, right? And then people can't execute. And that's where kind of your show makes sense. Bringing it back to basics is just, kind of, find your niche market and just, make sure they're happy, right? And don't try to win everyone over, immediately. Start there and then expand your business as things go, and then expand the people around you that work for you, and help support you. And that's really hard as, a solo entrepreneur, is just controlling all those different levers at once.
Yeah. Jason, thank you again. Everyone has done a 9 to 5 job before they were entrepreneurs, right? So how did you make that transition between the 9 to 5 job to a entrepreneur? Because 9 to 5 job is technically a comfortable job, because someone is coming up with their own rules, coming up with their own handbook, right? And you're just following that instructions, getting a paycheck at the end of the month or end of the week or bi-weekly, or depending on whatever the end results are. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, how did you transition on that?
Sure. And it's very important, because a lot of times people think that when they leave the 9 to 5, it's immediate freedom, but it's not technically true, because if you have customers or clients, right, you have a responsibility to them. So when you do go on vacation, right, and things need to be answered, and you're at the helm, you can't just go away, internationally, and just show all your customers and clients. So I always say, it's like, be careful what you wish for, right? Because you're going to eat, sleep, everything around that startup that you're doing. It's not just as simple as ditching to the 9 to 5 at the end of the day. So in my case, I had it in my blood from a young child through my father. He owned a store, and I would always be in that store selling merchandise, helping him out. It was a nautical antique store. There was no eBay back in the day, so that was a valuable store where people would visit internationally and want to buy, cool things that they would see on the Titanic, as an example. And my dad had a lot of that stuff in his store. A lot of movie sets, would buy stuff from him as well. And then growing up, I always knew, I'm like, I don't do well with bosses, right? Because I see what's going on, and I always say, well, we could do it better, but no one would want to change things. So it's really hard when you have that entrepreneurship mentality, that you're working at a 9 to 5 and you tell your boss, but they don't really care to change the bigger picture. And then they maybe you get it up the level to someone higher up, but then they're like, yeah, but we can't really change. It's a little more difficult. And then you're like, makes no sense, right? The system's broken, but nobody wants to change it. And then you realize you can't really change it, right? It's too hard. These companies are too large. My first company I worked for was ADT Security, the alarm company. They were publicly traded, right? And it's really hard to mess around with publicly traded companies. There's boards, the stock, price there, so they don't change very easily.
Yeah, but Jason, not even that. Is like, for example, if you come up with an idea, then your boss will be like, "You're doing better than me," so it's more like you're gonna get the job versus that person, right?
Yes.
So it seems like you're gonna make more enemies than versus friends.
Yeah, it's hard because they see that, right? They see, where you're going. They see your sales data. They see, your passion behind the recommendations, and that could be an issue with a lot of organizations. So I really quickly saw, that I wasn't made for the 9 to 5 within a year or so working there. And I was 22 years old, and I went to the financial service industry because that was an industry that I could be my own boss. I became a financial advisor in 2007. And at that time, it was getting my own clients and finding a niche market. So I ran around Manhattan, in the tri-state area, finding clients, and I was an entrepreneur. I had to figure out, how much money to spend marketing, doing, presentations at businesses, for example, or working with civil service like police officers, firefighters, giving presentations to that audience, and then eventually converting them into clients that wanted to work with me. either for investing their money or for protecting, their family with insurance products. So that I am still a financial advisor to this day. We now run a financial service firm, me and 5 other business partners that are financial advisors and some staff. We have offices in New York City, Connecticut, and South Florida today. I moved to Florida 5 years ago. And, switching gears from a solo entrepreneur is really hard, right? When I was doing all that myself, I realized, from learning from the best, that it's best to make better use of your time, right? You've heard this a million times, like stop doing $10 an hour work, right? I took that to heart, but most don't. Most continuously do $10 an hour work because they hire someone, it doesn't work out. They're like, I have to train this person. They don't do it right, and they can't give up that responsibility, and they end up micromanaging them, and then they never get forward, getting out of that, one person business. And I see this all the time in my industry. It's just that they can't give it up. They're not a good leader when it comes to hiring the right folks, which is very difficult, especially today with the next generation. The way they look at their position differently than the next generation, for example. So I just kind of said, I'm all in. At 27 years old, I formed a group, and that group is still together to this day. And we looked at the best practices out there and we followed them, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel here, right? Others, are successful for a reason. So that's what we did. And then, I moved to South Florida. I started the podcast, The Shrimp Tank, which is in my background right here. And I collaborate with FAU Adams Center for Entrepreneurship. And yesterday we had our 200th episode. So we've done them all in person with headsets and microphones. And, these folks have been mentors to me. To be able to get that opportunity to interview a business owner about finding the do's and don'ts of running a business. And these are very successful entrepreneurs. The minimum, revenue to get on our show is $1 million. They have to have 5 years in business and 5 employees. Because if they have those characteristics, they've been through cycles and they've been through, rough scenarios where they had to lay someone off. They had to find, a new person really quickly. I mean, it's really hard to scale a business, especially we have businesses that go from 1,000 employees to 3,000 employees in 2 years, right? And we've seen that and how that impacts their relationships with their family members, or if it's a family business for that matter. So it's really been a fun ride, getting to interview a lot of entrepreneurs. And I am an entrepreneur in the financial service industry, and that's what led to Owwll, right? All of a sudden I said, well, I'm giving advice, right? One-on-one. And I started to see with all, the social media platforms growing and everyone building personal brands. And when COVID hit, we had a major problem. No one could network anymore, right? All of a sudden, can't go in person anymore. Everyone's sitting at home, and we were starving to talk to people. And the light bulb went off. What if you could call somebody through a platform? Very similar to how LinkedIn is, right? You see the green bubble, they're there, but why can't I just call them, right? I know I could help this person out if I could call them, but they don't want to take my call because they're like, who are you, right? Your bio says financial advisor. You're going to solicit me. You're going to try to sell me something. Yes. Right? We all have biasnesses on our profiles, and we're all not the best at putting things on our profiles, right? Not everyone's an expert on copy. So I said, wouldn't it be cool if that expert though could just say, hey, if you want to call me, here's my price. So Owwll is very simple. You're calling someone and they're setting the rate. But if they're available, you call them on demand, literally. If they are on, accepting calls and they're charging $20 for a 10-minute call, we sell them blocks of time, you could get in touch with that expert. And we're talking experts from all different categories. We're talking lawyers, accountants, financial service professionals, all the way to people in Hollywood. You want to call a movie director, we have them on our platform. And, professional athletes, anything under the sun that you want to speak to. So that's what's really interesting with our platforms. Anyone who has an audience, where you have a problem, too many people reach out to you and you don't know how to really respond back to them. Usually either don't respond or they have to go through too many layers to get in touch with you. And then a lot of times the meetings are unfortunately not the right meeting, right? The expert, leaves the meeting like, that was a waste of my 30 minutes. I wish I got my time back, right? So with our platform, that's not going to happen because you have to pay for that person's time. And not so much time, but their value, right? You know who that person is and you really want to speak to them. So the beauty of our platform is we're the first to actually go after this market. advice on demand. People are calling it the Uber of advice, right? Because it benefits the advice seeker so much, but it also benefits the advice giver, right? Because advice givers are having struggles right now, with letting people into their schedule and cancellations. So it's really cool. And we could obviously spend more time talking about that.
Of course.
But
I'm going to get into that if you don't mind, Jason. But
sure.
Before we get into your podcast world and your Owwll world, and thank you so much for all the small nuggets that you're giving out there.
Sure.
Now the question is that from your 2007 trip till today's date, have you noticed that the marketing is a little tough because you got to learn your SEOs, you got to learn your digital marketing and how do you advertise yourself?
Sure.
Do you think it's harder now as compared to before? You would think that digital world would be easier because it's on your hands, right? But it's getting harder, isn't it?
It depends who you ask.
Okay.
Right. If you ask me, it's getting easier.
Okay.
If you ask somebody else, it's getting harder.
Okay.
Right. Because it's all perspective, right? When have we ever been able to market 24 hours a day on our cell phones? Right. I could be in the air on an airplane on Wi-Fi and set up meetings with anybody in the world. I could try to make a meeting with Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, on an airplane, right? Technically, he might respond to me on Twitter and I might be able to set up a Zoom meeting with him, right? I could close Elon Musk, in the air. Like, when has that ever been possible? Right? Folks like Grant Cardone are in Clubhouse, right? I could be in my car driving and I could have opportunity jumping into a room and maybe I'm having a conversation with Grant Cardone, right? While driving, right? So it's all perspective, because I think what's going on right now is everyone's kind of, very, laid back with saying, hey, I'm just going to post stuff on social media and hope that, it drives customers and clients, right? Or I just want to build a website and I want people to just come to me. And what we're actually learning, it's actually the title of your show is, you got to bring it back to basics, right? Because isn't this all about connecting at the end of the day? People want to connect with one another and then do work with people they connect with, who they trust, who they feel has their best interest at heart, right? And I think that's what's being lost because of social media so often, is everyone just posting stuff, liking, commenting, and they're playing a game, right? But more people are realizing, like, hey, I don't want to play the game. I just want to have a genuine conversation with that person, which is why we've seen the explosion of Clubhouse, right? Because that was getting a community together and having a real conversation, right? People couldn't take things out of context, based on text. It was all verbal conversations. And when somebody slipped, they apologize. They say, look, I didn't mean it like that. Because we all slip. We all have bad days. And sometimes something comes out inappropriately. But when it's on social media, you could lose your job, right? Because you're a CEO of a brand and all of a sudden, you're getting canceled on. You've seen it all across the news. But if you're in a room on Clubhouse and you're talking, well, it's a little different. You could immediately address that issue, and your tone of your voice, people realize you made a mistake and it's okay, move on, right? Within a minute. So what I think what's happening with marketing is, you're seeing people that, are having the easiest time ever right now, because you could connect with people on LinkedIn and be genuine.
That's right.
Right. I could reach out to so many people and say, hey, I loved listening to your podcast, especially this segment of the episode when you talk to blank, blank, and blank about this. I would love to chat with you about, this situation. I think it will help improve your business. So you're a giver. And the issue becomes is too many people will not listen to that person's show and just pitch them. They'll just say, hey, I could help you expand your business. We should jump on a call. Like, why do we want to? Yeah, please, come on in. Let me try to be solicited. And I think we have forgotten as sales folks or marketing folks that that's not how it works, right? That's the lazy tactic to, I'm just going to send 100 of them because we said, well, the numbers in marketing, guerrilla marketing is send out 100 and one will say yes, right? But then to the one that says yes, it's not the one you want, right? I'd rather send 5 messages out that are genuine and then get one that responds to me and make the best out of it, because that one meeting is going to be real. So that's what I've learned from my marketing. It's not the quantity, it's the quality, and it's about being genuine. We have so much time in a work week to make genuine relationships, but too often more people want to just do volume and just be late on the lazier side, which is why we're seeing everyone wanting to be TikTok famous, Facebook famous, Instagram famous, because it's easier. But then what we're seeing is it's this small. It's harder to do that than become a professional athlete.
That's right.
And everyone thinks that they could be the next Gary Vee. And it's really difficult. And then a lot of people do get a little bit of fame, right? And then they lose it because there's a new platform, right? Because businesses are turning over quicker than they ever have, right? Look at the stock prices. A lot of these brands 7 years later, a lot of them are out of business, right? So, it's really hard today. If you're going to go all in on something, and I've seen this on my podcast, people have egos. They get really hot and they burn all their relationships. And then all of a sudden the cycle comes in, which we're seeing right now, or when COVID hit. And then they reach out to people. Sure. And those people will not be there for them because those people remember when you didn't respond to their email, when you didn't respond to that text message or that LinkedIn message or Instagram, people remember. And they're going to be like, not responding to that guy. He didn't help me when I was in need. Right. So my secret to my success is very simple. Business etiquette, respond to people. I don't have a single email that doesn't get answered within 24 hours, right? I don't have a single text message. Because it's not hard. It's every single person has their cell phone glued to them, literally, right? Who do you know that doesn't walk out of their house with their cell phone by their hip or in their car or in the office? Every single person. Right. So when someone says, I'm busy, sorry, I didn't get back to you, don't take it personal. That's not that. How can you not? They saw the message. If they felt value in you, they would respond, right? It's that most people, unfortunately, are thinking for themselves and not for others, and too often they're takers and not givers, or they're giving with hope to get something out of it. So what I find as the most successful entrepreneurs we have on our shows, they give back 10 times what people actually realize, 10 times, but no one ever sees that side to them.
I mean, Jason, between you and me, you and I have talked many times on Clubhouse, and I'm like, I really don't know that if this guy is going to say yes to me to come on my show. And it really took me seconds to sure, why not? So I was on cloud nine when you said yes. So thank you again for that. And that is an example, if you think about it, that you should take a leap of faith and just, it might be a yes at the end of the day. And here we are today. So thank you again for that, Jason. The question I asked about the marketing, there was a episode that I saw on Shark Tank like a few days back, and Mark actually asked this entrepreneur that what type of money did you spend on advertisement? And he says none. So now the question is, did you do any marketing on social media? For example, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. He says no, because I have no experience on it. Now, that's a sign of failure, isn't it, for an entrepreneur? What are your thoughts on that part?
Yeah, you must try things, right? Yeah. If you're not willing to try, well, it's going to be very hard to scale your business because every entrepreneur goes down paths of unknowns, right? There's so many things touching your business, the financial side of things, right? And making sure you have the right accounts established for your business. Then once you have personal finance, your personal finances come into play running a business. Then after that, just the marketing budget, how you have your client relationship software, if it's clients or customers, wherever that deploys in a back office, right? And all of a sudden, like, there's a lot of things. So if you're like, if you say, hey, I don't know this, I'm not an expert, like, well, then how are you ever going to have a CRM, right? Client relationship software. How are you ever going to build a website? How are you ever going to, you got to lean on experts, right? So, the best entrepreneurs lean on the best experts. Very simple, right? It's not that easy to do because you don't always have capital to just hire the best. That's right. So people, have to take that with a grain of salt. Like hiring the best attorney will cost you a lot of money. Attorneys get quite expensive, when it comes to business law. So I would just say you have to try it. So if you're asking me what I've tried everything.
Of course.
I have, if you go down the rabbit hole on Google, you're going to find me on a lot of different websites. And I've tried search engine optimization, and I have a lot of websites, and I've outsourced everything where they blog every single week for us on different sites. And that gains us, long-term results. That's planting seeds that take a long time to generate traffic, and slowly your lead count grows. So we have multiple sites that are niche sites that get us leads within the financial service industry. So I've tried that. I've tried Facebook ads. And you could change your message on Facebook ads during like COVID-19, right? Or cycles in the market that will trigger people. So we tried Facebook ads. Now every industry is different. What I've learned is like maybe my industry is not the best on Facebook, right? But selling a product really is, because you could squeeze, that cost me $1 per sale, and I have enough profit in there to ship out a widget, whatever it might be.
I mean that depends on which audience you're trying to target.
Sure. Of course, and now we're seeing TikTok. Now we're seeing the App Store. If you have an app, you could advertise there.
Right.
Cameo, I just saw, said you could advertise on Cameo to celebrities, right? So there's so many verticals, and if you try none of them, the result's easy. It's going to be you got no growth, right?
Yeah,
zero.
I mean, right now you got Amazon Live also that you can sell it on Amazon Live. So I mean, you got too many options right now when it comes to that. Jason, before you leave today, let's talk about Owwll, if you don't mind.
Yes, of course.
So you have created this. According to me, it's a monster, because it's a really awesome tool, by the way, and I'm using it nonstop on this, and you've seen me on there. So this is the code that anyone wants to get on Owwll. You can just use that. So can you explain what Owwll is, if you don't mind? I mean, you said it briefly what that is, and you're showing that Owwll app there on your video there, and I'm totally on there. And if you like, I can go right now on Owwll, and here it is. I mean, that's just what it is, right? I mean, so tell me what do you think Owwll is, and how did you start this whole thing?
Yeah, so let's start with what Owwll is, right? You see a home screen with different profiles, that you could click on. So think of it as, a bio on LinkedIn for a moment, right? You click that person's bio, but on LinkedIn, what could you do, right? You're not connected with them, so you hit the connect button, right? And you wait 3 weeks for them to accept you, or maybe you get accepted in a couple of days, or maybe you never get accepted, but you want to speak to them, right? And then what do you do? If you do, you have to send them a message. But 9 times out of 10, you're never going to speak to that person, right? You want to, but you're not going to be able to. So imagine on LinkedIn, right, that person just had a price tag next to their name. Maybe they were $100 for a 10-minute audio call, right? And you had the money, you really want to speak to them, click it, you're connected. That person on the other end, their phone rings like a cell phone call, right? And they grab the call, and now you're chatting with that individual, and you're getting to speak to that person about what they're an expert in. And what's really unique is, and we'll use podcasting example. Someone calls you and they want to learn how to start a podcast or how to grow their podcast or monetize it with sponsors, right? They can immediately get on a conversation with you. And what we're finding is people want information right now, right? That's why we go to Google. That's why we go to YouTube. They want the answer. And the issue with these platforms is it's saturated information. And we want to bring it back to basics where you could just call somebody, right? We all miss just being able to get the answer by calling our mom, by calling our dad, right? Hey, mom, how do you do this? They always knew the answer, right? So with Owwll, it's similar. You're getting to call someone on demand. So what's beautiful with our platform is you go down to filter search and filter different types of experts. We have hundreds of different types, literally even a dog trainers on there. You want to learn how to, train your dog and talk to a trainer that has hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers, you could call them, right? And the beauty of it is, there's no waiting around. It instantly connects to them, and you know what you're paying up front. And then when you're on a call with that expert, you could ask for another 10-minute block. So we sell in 10-minute blocks. So all of a sudden you're having a good conversation. After 10 minutes, you add more time, and that expert has to allow, that extra 10 minutes. They could deny it and say, sorry, I have a Zoom meeting coming up. And they could deny and say, follow me again. And the beauty of this for experts, this is where it gets really powerful, right? You said earlier in the show, anyone could be an entrepreneur by starting a handle on a social media platform, starting a website, very low cost to entry. Well, how beautiful is this? Now you have another tool in your toolbox. It's absolutely free to use Owwll. You start a profile, and now you could tell your audience that if they want to speak to you, they come right through Owwll. You could charge $1, $5, all the way up to $10,000. If Mark Cuban comes on our platform, right, and charges $10,000 for 10 minutes, right, not many people are going to be calling him, but there's a lot of famous people that if they could call Mark Cuban instantly and not have to go through, all the different levels to get through to him, through the 12 different points, I'm sure, to get through to someone like him, right? Wouldn't they do it? They would, right? If Elon Musk wanted to call Mark Cuban, what's $10,000 to him? If he wants to ask him a question about his stadium, about some other projects he's up to, right? Why can't he throw Tesla, at his stadium and just ask him a quick question? He'd be willing to do that because it saves him time, and that's so valuable in this life, right? Everyone talks about how valuable time is and not wanting to waste it. So our platform is so valuable to professionals to be able to go live at a moment's notice. So our system has a clock. You just enter the app and you set your timer. And the timer says to the world, you can take calls. And the beauty of this is that so many people are working from home today. So while they're on their computers doing emails, they set themselves available for 1 hour. They stop what they're doing if a call comes in and they're having a conversation and they're getting paid. And not only are they getting paid for that call, but now they're taking likely, clients off the platform. No different than LinkedIn. You don't stay on that platform. You end up meeting someone and you take it off onto a Zoom meeting or in person. Well, with ours, same thing. Have a genuine conversation. Now that person may want to hire you for podcasting advice as an example, right? And now you just made a client because they knew what they were looking for. They were looking for someone helping to scale their podcasts, and they found the individual after doing 3-4 calls on Owwll, to test the waters. They said, this is the one I want to hire. And then all of a sudden they did a Zoom meeting, and that podcast expert now got a client, and at a faster pace than any other platform that I'm aware of. And it keeps it professional because there's reviews at every, call that is done. A review screen pops up, and you're helping the next individual say, was that expert helpful, right, during that 10-minute, 20-minute call with them? If they're not, put no and leave them a 2-star review.
Yeah.
You don't want others paying for their time and getting bad advice. So the beauty of our platform is everyone is held accountable, including the advice seeker. If they're saying something inappropriate, we're going to kick them off the platform because that's not right to that expert that you're saying inappropriate things. So that's why we're called the Uber of advice.
But Jason, one fascinating thing about this Owwll is that if someone called you, they will not know your number. It just goes on the phone. So I want people to understand that this whole app is very secure when it comes to this thing. They will not know where your location is or whatever, because people are scared of these things, right? And we have to make sure that security is high quality on this part.
Yeah. So the beauty is exactly that you can, again, going back to the Mark Cuban scenario. Mark Cuban was bored on a Sunday evening. He could go live for an hour, charge $10,000 for 10 minutes, but not have to feel like he's giving away his information. His bio is up there and everyone knows who he is. And if someone has $10,000 to call him, right, that's up to them. And Mark's happy because he's getting paid and he's chatting on a Sunday evening, taking a phone call and giving someone good advice. And they're valuing that advice for that cost that he's charging. And Mark's not giving out his phone number, right?
Yeah.
So, makes him very comfortable to be able to go live. And I think that's why we've attracted a lot of Hollywood. We're starting to see a lot of people, in that expertise join the platform because they have a lot of time off in between movie sets, or they're doing one movie. We have a director on, and then there's a break for 2 months, and then it gets busy again. So our platform enables you to go live every day, right, for as much time as you want, or once a month or once a year, right? There's no commitment to going live as an expert, and people could follow you. And when you go live, you get a notification. Hey, Mark Cuban is live for 60 minutes. Do you want to call him? Right? Because if you've said you want to be notified when Mark goes live, right, we're going to send you a notification. So the beauty of our platform is no scheduling in the future, no cancellations. Right. If you want to talk to them, they're there. You see their live, call them, pay the price, and you're connected. And people are willing to do that because it saves them so much time, of course.
Yeah. So, Jason, thank you again. And this is still in the beta version, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay. So now the question is that when it goes live, officially, does it go around the world? Because right now I think it's only in the US, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a great point. So because the financial regulations, right, we're accepting deposits and we're also doing withdrawals. So when you have earned income, you have to send that person a 1099, right? So we partner with Stripe. They're our payment processing company that we want to go with because they are known for having great security behind the scenes. And we decided to launch in the United States and Canada for the time being because we are startup, right? We have over 2,000 people on the platform. There is a waiting list right now, and we just want to make sure that everything is working properly. We're trying to get through all the bugs that exist on the platform. Developing an app is very extensive, and there's always going to be bugs. There's bugs on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's done LinkedIn audio. They're still developing it. There's still major bugs on that one, for example.
Mm.
So we really just want to, consistently get it right. And we do have a launch event on June 7th where, people are going to get to charge what they want. They're going to be able to deposit what they want, withdraw what they want, and we'll take it nice and slow. So we do have a wait list there for that reason, because we want to make sure that the deposits and withdrawals are working as designed before we get slammed, with emails. Because when you mess with money, you're going to get a lot of negative reviews if you don't have it right. So we want to make sure that we take it nice and slow. And right now it's a promotional period. So when you use the code that is up right there, GB140883, you will get $10 of credit on your account, and you can make up to 10 calls, because calls are only $1 each, including myself. Call myself if you see me live. And every time you refer someone doing a promotion, you will get $10. So how cool is it that everyone's, getting on the platform naturally via referral, and everyone's really just getting to network for free right now. And there's huge opportunities that exist on our platform because, everyone's having fun, having genuine conversations, and it's all done via referral right now. We've done very little marketing behind the scenes because we don't want to scale it just yet. We want to just get everything designed properly. So yeah, it's in beta.
But Jason, I know this. Thank you again, by the way, Jason. But
you're welcome.
I'm pretty sure this question is going to come up, and this is the last question, I promise you. Now the regulations you're talking about is just in the U.S. and Canada, not other places, for legal reasons, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But now we're getting into the crypto world, which there's no regulations or less regulations. So do you think we're going to get into that realm also when it comes to Owwll?
Right now, we want to keep it basic, right? We want to say, here's the price to call someone, right? We have no reason to start saying we're going to start accepting Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, right? The experts want to get paid, right? We want to keep it simple, right? So we're gonna, partner with Stripe for that reason. There's no reason to go outside our lane. If you want to talk to a crypto expert, you're more than welcome to, or an NFT expert. We have them on our platform, but you're going to have to pay them in dollars right now. And at some point, when we prove the concept in the United States market, we will then go country by country and expand internationally. But there is regulations for giving advice internationally, right? Maybe they have no financial regulations, but they have advice regulations, right? So it's not that easy to say, to the whole world, come in here and charge what you want, and we're going to start sending $10,000 to somebody in a different country, and they're going to remove the $10,000. So that's what makes us different than the platforms like Clubhouse, who don't have the financial scenarios coming up, but also gives us a unique opportunity that others aren't going after this situation, because more audio technology is scaling than ever before with Twitter Spaces, LinkedIn Audio, Spotify has one, Fireside Chat, and all of a sudden, what do you do if you're on Clubhouse and you're a panelist and you've given an hour of your time and given value away, right? What happens next? You get a bunch of messages. Now you got to go through these messages. Wouldn't it be easier to tell the audience, hey, I'm available on Owwll when this room ends, and go ahead and call me and we could chat one-on-one, because you have their attention right there. They want to speak to you, right? They're in the room, they're available. So why not close the room and head to Owwll, right, and get paid for the value and create opportunities right after? Because if you wait too long, it's no different than car sales, right? If someone leaves that dealership, you're never going to get the sale, right? Their attention, they walked in because they wanted something. Someone walked into that Clubhouse room because they want to learn, right? And that panelist, why do they ask some panelists questions? They want information. Who in Clubhouse wouldn't want a one-on-one time with that panelist that just gave them value, right? In a group of hundreds of people, right? And you get 1-2 minutes up on stage to ask a question. Who wants to sit there the whole entire time just waiting and waiting and waiting? Wouldn't you prefer? So I could do one-on-ones with the people I want to after listening to them. So that's the beauty of our platform. It's gonna be a value add to anyone on social audio right now.
Jason, thank you again for answering all those questions and the small nuggets that you've given us. And the Owwll app for me has been really phenomenal, and I have advised a lot of different people for great podcasting and also being an influencer too at the same time. So thank you again, Jason, for creating that monster of yours, and hopefully it'll go well. I know it will go well. But before you leave today, do you have any small nuggets that you want to share to Back to Basics and my listeners? And how was your journey on Back to Basics too before you leave?
Yeah, I appreciate it. And it's interesting. Whenever I have team meetings every Tuesday, lots of times, every year we start going after all these shiny objects because, entrepreneurship is in my blood and my team's blood, that we always want to be better, and we always want to, somehow figure out better techniques to scale. And it always comes back to marketing at the end of the day, right? Like, how are we marketing to get better quality at the end result, right? And most other businesses, it's the same thing. So we have, a session about bringing it back to basics. It's like, hey, we should just focus on these core ways, because those core ways, they're never going to change. And when I look at Owwll or LinkedIn, all these platforms, what are we all doing? Is we're developing relationships, right? And we're connecting, and that is something so basic, right? Sending a text message out to you to say thank you, if I had your cell phone number, right? Thank you for having me on this platform, or sending an email, or sending a card if you have that person's address. So instead of trying to always do so much, shrink it down, go back to basics, and be genuine with that smaller group, and you'll find larger results. So that would be my tip for anyone listening: is keep it basic, and then hire the best around you, so that way you could start expanding your business and not trying to do everything yourself, because micromanaging gets stressful, and you don't want to be a solo entrepreneur where you can't go anywhere, and then you're a victim to running your business 24/7, and you can't enjoy the fruits that brought in all the revenue, and because you can't do anything, because you're locked, you're locked to your customers and clients,
Right.
which is why you see a lot of people are just giving up on their business. They exit, right? And they do something more passionate because they thought it's what they wanted, but at the end of the day, then they lost their time, and they lost the ability to have experiences. So that would be my 2 cents: is make sure that you're working on your business, not always in your business.
Yeah. Jason, thank you again, and thank you for coming on Back to Basics. And I'm so honored for you to be here, sharing all those nuggets. And obviously, you and I are going to talk offline, and we are connected on Clubhouse. So I'll call
Yes.
you an Owl if I need some advice from you. Thank you again for coming here and sharing the nuggets.
It was a pleasure. And anyone wanted to get in touch with me, head over to Owwll. It's Owwll. It's on the App Store. It's on the Google Play Store. As we mentioned, it's only available in the United States and Canada for the time being. You'll get $10 using this code, and follow me and call me and pick my brain about anything that we spoke about on today's episode.
Yeah, thank you again, Jason.
You're welcome.
So, guys, we spoke with Jason today, and we talked about the Owwll app. We talked about his entrepreneurship and how his journey was. There was a struggle along the way, but according to me, I see success all the way through now, right? He's talking to me. He's having shared amazing nuggets on this call. Now, as usual, as always, there's a quote of the day from Back to Basics, and hopefully Jason will like the quote. The quote is, "Don't worry about being successful, but work towards being significant, and the success will naturally follow." That's what he's doing, and that's what I'm doing, right? We're doing what we love to do, is to just make people happy, and that's what we're doing at the end of the day, and resolving issues at the same time. Guys, as usual, as always, what do we always say at the end of the episode? Everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care. God bless. Keep on commenting on all my episodes, because it does make me stronger day by day, week by week, because we are releasing every day. With your help and support, it makes me stronger. And there are 3 things every episode, including this one, makes it a successful one, according to me, which is the content, the guest, and definitely the host. Guys, take care. God bless. And I will see you next time on Back to Basics. Next week's episode on Back to Basics.
We touched very briefly on everything that's happening in the wider world, but there is so much sadness, and I think that younger people, mental health is a problem across the globe and across generations, but younger people are utilizing new ways of self-care and exploring new forms of mental health, and spirituality is very much one of them. And